They call them wonders. The pyramids, the cathedrals, the temples carved from mountains. But here's the thing. Every wonder has a shadow. Because for every king who wanted to be remembered, there were thousands of workers who were forgotten. The monuments of history don't just tell stories of greatness. They tell stories of control, pain, and sacrifice. This is the truth most empires never wanted written down. From the very beginning, humans have been terrified of one thing: being forgotten. Pharaohs, emperors, kings, they all built to outlast death. The Great Pyramid wasn't just a tomb. It was a message carved in stone. I will never die. It took decades to build, over 2 million blocks of limestone, each one dragged by human hands. For every royal name carved in gold, there were countless nameless ones buried under the sand. People who never saw the inside of the tombs they built. And yet, they kept building. Because when power and faith become the same thing, saying no isn't an option. That's how the first monuments rose. Not from devotion, but from fear. A monument isn't just architecture. It's a statement. This is who rules. This is what's sacred. This is forever. In Mesopotamia, kings built ziggurats so tall they scraped the clouds. In Cambodia, Angkor Wat stretched across miles of jungle, part temple, part propaganda. In South America, Machu Picchu sat high in the clouds, reminding everyone who could build closest to the gods. Stone became a form of control. The taller the wall, the deeper the obedience. The bigger the temple, the stronger the fear. When you look at ancient ruins today, it's easy to see beauty. What you don't see are the chains that made that beauty possible. These structures didn't just shape the skyline, they shaped belief. They turned leaders into gods and labor into worship. We rarely talk about what these monuments cost, not in gold, but in lives. The Great Pyramid may have taken 20 years to build. Thousands of workers working in brutal heat, breaking stone with copper tools. Archaeologists have found graves beside the pyramid, bones showing crushed spines and healed fractures. The Parthenon, the Taj Mahal, Notre Dame, different worlds, same story. Entire generations gave their lives to buildings they'd never see finished. And yet, they kept building. Because when your empire's glory depends on your suffering, you don't have a choice. These monuments stand today not because of kings, but because of exhaustion, blood, and belief. The irony? The same structures that symbolized perfection were built through imperfection. Human pain, human hands, human limits. By the Middle Ages, the obsession had evolved. Kings no longer claimed to be gods. They claimed to serve them. Cathedrals reached toward heaven, but their foundations were laid by peasants who could barely feed their families. For them, working on a church wasn't a job, it was salvation. The longer it took, the holier it felt. Chartres Cathedral took nearly 80 years. Cologne took over 600. No one who started them lived to see them finished. They were told they were building for God, but in truth, they were building for power. Because cathedrals did more than glorify faith. They glorified authority. They reminded every peasant who truly owned heaven. That's the dark genius of monuments. They convince you that obedience is sacred. You might think we've moved on. We haven't. Our rulers just changed their materials. Concrete instead of stone. Steel instead of marble. We still build for pride, for control, for legacy. Olympic stadiums that bankrupt cities. Luxury towers built by invisible workers. Mega projects that promise glory and leave behind debt. The same story repeats. A few names go on plaques, everyone else disappears. Every age builds its own pyramids. And every time, the workers are buried inside them, metaphorically or not. Here's the truth history rarely admits. Every monument was built to defy time, and every one of them will eventually fall. The pharaohs are gone, the emperors forgotten, but the fingerprints of their builders are still there, pressed into the stones they lifted. The monuments we worship aren't proof of divine power. They're proof of human endurance. When the walls crumble and the names fade, one truth remains. The real legacy of civilization isn't what we build, it's what we survive. So the next time you look at a wonder of the world, remember this. Greatness isn't measured by how high something stands, but by how many lives it took to keep it standing.